No maid lasted a week with the savage Alpha King until the human maid broke every rule. 3 maids fled through the iron gates of Silverfang Fortress as if running from death itself. The first clutched her torn apron in one hand and a single boot in the other. The second was sobbing into her cloak, muttering something about demon eyes. The third stopped at the edge of the mountain path, looked back at the towering stone fortress, and whispered, "May the gods protect the next girl." Mira walked past them with a patched travel bag over her shoulder, herbs tied to her belt, and a determined expression on her face. "Dramatic," she muttered under her breath, adjusting her bag strap. The gate guard, a scarred werewolf named Garrett who looked like he'd lost all hope years ago, stood at the iron entrance with a contract scroll and zero faith. "You're the human maid?" Garrett asked, studying Mira from head to toe as if evaluating a lamb before wolves. "That's me." "Mira, ready to work," she said, offering a steady hand. Garrett didn't take it. "Did you read the contract?" "I did." "The whole contract? Even the clause about not holding the pack responsible for injuries during the king's shifts?" "I thought it was thorough," Mira said. Garrett growled low. "Listen carefully. Alpha King Darius Silverfang is dangerous. Dangerous like Moody, or dangerous like has claws. Dangerous like 15 maids in 6 weeks. Mira blinked. 15? That's almost impressive. This isn't a joke. I know. But if I don't stay focused, I'll panic, and my family can't afford panic." Garrett didn't smile. He just shoved the blood contract toward her, turned, and started walking through the dark stone corridors lined with torches and heavy, suffocating silence. Before we continue, if you enjoy Alpha King stories like this, join the pack by liking and subscribing. And when it's over, tell me in the comments, did Mira make the right choice? Now, back to the story. Garrett led Mira through corridors that grew colder with each step, the torchlight flickering against stone walls scarred with claw marks. No tapestries, no warmth, just rock and darkness and the distant sound of wind howling through the mountain fortress. They stopped at a massive iron door reinforced with silver chains. Garrett knocked 3 times and stepped back immediately, as if the door itself might bite. "Enter," a voice growled from within, low, rough, barely human. Garrett shoved the door open, gestured for Mira to go inside, and disappeared down the corridor without another word. Mira stepped into the chamber and nearly choked on the stench. Rot, sweat, blood. The room was enormous, but filthy furs piled in corners, broken furniture shoved against walls, weapons scattered across the floor like discarded bones. A massive stone hearth sat cold and empty. The only light came from a single narrow window where dawn struggled to break through. And there, standing with his back to her, was Alpha King Darius Silverfang. He was tall, impossibly tall, with silver-white hair hanging loose past his shoulders. He wore black leather and dark furs, and even from behind, Mira could see the tension in his frame, the way his muscles coiled like a predator ready to strike. A jagged iron crown sat on his head, and when he turned, his eyes glowed faint amber in the dim light. Sharp jaw, pale skin, claws barely retracted, and those eyes cold, feral, ancient. "You will not last the night," he snarled, his voice scraping like stone on bone. Mira's heart hammered, but she kept her feet planted. "Good morning to you too, Your Majesty." Darius took a step closer, towering over her. "Did you not hear me? Human? Leave. Now. Before I give you a reason to run like the others." "I heard you," Mira said, forcing her voice steady. "I'm choosing to ignore you." His eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? I signed a contract. I need the payment. You need someone who won't scream every time you growl. Seems like we're stuck with each other." Darius moved fast, too fast, and suddenly he was inches from her face, his breath hot and sharp. "I do not need anything from a fragile, breakable human who reeks of fear." Mira tilted her head, studying him despite every instinct, screaming at her to run. That's when she saw it, the way he held his left arm too close to his body, the faint darkening on the leather near his wrist, the tremor in his clawed hand. Blood. Old blood. And something worse. "You're hurt," she said. Darius pulled back as if she'd struck him. "What?" "Your arm. You're hiding a wound." "That," he growled, "is none of your concern." "It is if you collapse and I'm blamed for it." Mira gestured to the filthy room. "And this place is a disaster. You're living like an animal." His lip curled, fangs flashing. "I am an animal." "You're a king," Mira corrected. "And kings don't live in their own filth. Give me 3 days. 3 days for what?" "To prove I'm useful. I'll clean this nightmare of a room. Keep your wound from killing you, and stay out of your way. If I fail, I leave. If I succeed, you pay me and I stay. 3 days. Darius stared at her, his expression caught between rage and disbelief. You dare negotiate with me? I dare survive, Mira said. That's what humans do. We're annoying like that. For a long moment, silence stretched between them, thick and dangerous. Then Darius turned away, moving back toward the window. 3 days. But when you run and you will run, do not expect mercy. Understood. And human, he added without looking back. Do not touch anything in this room without my permission, especially me. Mira gave a small, deliberate bow, not subservient, not mocking, just enough to acknowledge him without submitting. As you wish, your majesty. She turned and walked out, closing the iron door behind her. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was racing. But she didn't run. Behind the door, Darius Silverfang stood frozen, staring at the place where the human had stood. No one had ever spoken to him like that. No one had ever noticed his wound. No one had ever demanded anything from him. And for the first time in years, something other than pain flickered in his chest. Curiosity. Day 1 began with a test. Mira found a note pinned to her door before dawn, written in harsh, angular script. Clean the armory, 3rd floor, east wing. Do not disturb the weapons. The armory was directly adjacent to what the other servants whispered about in terrified voices, the shifting chamber. Mira could hear the sounds through the stone walls as she worked. Low growls, scraping claws, the crack of bone reshaping itself. Every instinct told her to drop the cloth and run. She kept scrubbing. By midday, another note arrived. Fetch moon petal from the western woods. Bring it before sunset. Garrett, when she asked, went pale. That's rogue territory. Unclaimed land. If the wild wolves catch your scent, where exactly is it? Mira interrupted. He told her. She went. The woods were dark even in daylight, dense with ancient trees and the thick musk of predators. Mira moved quickly, eyes scanning the undergrowth for the pale blue flowers she'd seen in her grandmother's herb book. She found a cluster growing near a stream, picked them with shaking hands, and ran back before the shadows grew teeth. She delivered the moon petal to Darius's door just as the sun touched the horizon. He opened it, looked at the flowers, then at her torn sleeve and the scratch on her arm from thorns. You actually went. You actually asked, Mira said. Most humans would have refused. Most humans don't need to feed their family as badly as I do. Darius studied her with those unsettling amber eyes, then took the flowers and slammed the door. Day 2 brought more tests. Fetch water from the mountain spring. Organize the throne room while the pack elders held council. Stand silent, invisible. Don't make eye contact. Deliver a message to Beta Kale, who circled her like prey and asked why she hadn't fled yet. Stubbornness, Mira answered. Kale laughed. That'll get you killed. But she survived each task with human efficiency, refusing to cower or beg or show the fear that churned in her stomach. She kept her head down when required, and her spine straight when it mattered. On the 3rd morning, Mira woke early and made a decision. She gathered her cleaning supplies, her herbs, and her grandmother's mortar and pestle. Then she walked straight to the Alpha King's chamber while he was gone, off to some dawn patrol Garrett had mentioned, and pushed open the heavy door. The room was worse in daylight. Dried blood on the furs, shattered glass in the corners. The stench of infection and neglect thick enough to taste. Mira rolled up her sleeves and got to work. She cleared the broken furniture, swept the stone floor, changed the fouled furs for clean ones she found in a storage room. She scrubbed blood from the walls and opened the window to let in freezing mountain air. Then she turned her attention to the herbs. Yarrow for infection, comfrey for deep wounds, willow bark for pain. She ground them into a thick paste, added honey from the kitchens, and spread the mixture onto a clean cloth. She left the poultice on his bedside table beside a clay cup of water, and then she left a note, written in charcoal on parchment. Cleanliness is a sign of dominance, Alpha. A king shouldn't live worse than his prisoners. The poultice is for your arm, use it or don't, but stop bleeding on everything. You're ruining perfectly good furs. She was halfway down the corridor when she heard the door crash open behind her. Mira froze. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. She turned to face Alpha King Darius Silverfang, who stood in his doorway radiating fury, the note crumpled in his clawed hand. You, he growled, entered my chamber without permission. You were gone, Mira said, lifting her chin. The room needed cleaning. That was not your decision to make. Someone had to make it. Darius stalked toward her, and every servant in the corridor scattered like mice. He stopped inches from Mira, towering over her, eyes blazing full amber. "You violated the first rule of this fortress. No one enters the Alpha's chamber uninvited. No one." "Then kill me," Mira said quietly. "Or let me finish my 3 days." His claws flexed. His jaw tightened. For a horrible moment, Mira thought he might actually do it, might tear her apart right there in the hallway. Instead, Darius leaned down until his breath ghosted across her face. "I hate your human smell," he said, voice low and dangerous. "It's everywhere now. In my room. On my things. Like you've marked my territory." Mira met his eyes. "Good. Maybe it'll cover up the smell of rotting flesh and self-pity." Someone down the corridor gasped. Darius stared at her, something flickering behind the rage surprise. Maybe, or the faintest hint of respect. Then he stepped back. "You have 2 days left, human. Don't waste them." He turned and walked back to his chamber, taking the poultice with him. Mira exhaled slowly, her legs trembling. Garrett appeared from around a corner, looking at her like she'd grown a second head. "You shouldn't be alive right now," he whispered. "I know," Mira said, and somehow, impossibly, she smiled. "But I am." That night, through the crack under the door, she saw the light of a candle burning in the Alpha King's chamber. And she knew, somehow, that he was using the poultice. The rules had changed. Neither of them had permission, and neither of them was backing down. On the 4th day, Mira noticed the blood. Fresh blood, dark and wrong, seeping through the leather wrapped around Darius's left forearm. He was standing at the war table in the strategy room, bent over maps with Beta Kale and 2 pack commanders. His face was pale beneath the silver hair, jaw clenched tight, and his hand trembled slightly as he pointed to territorial markers. "The eastern border needs reinforcement," Darius said, his voice rough. "Kale, take 3 units." He swayed. "Just barely, just enough." Kale caught his elbow. "My king? I'm fine." Darius yanked his arm back, and Mira saw him bite down hard on whatever sound tried to escape his throat. "Leave, all of you." The commanders fled immediately. Kale hesitated, eyes flicking to Mira, where she stood by the doorway with fresh linens. "Your Majesty," perhaps the healer. "Out." Kale left. Mira didn't. She set down the linens, walked straight to the war table, and stopped in front of the Alpha King. "Show me." "Leave, human. Show me your arm." Darius's eyes flashed amber. "You're testing my patience. And you're dying," Mira said bluntly. "That wound isn't healing. It's getting worse. I can smell the infection from here. It's not your concern. It is when you collapse, and the pack tears itself apart, fighting over who rules next." She crossed her arms. "Show me. Now. You dare give me orders? I dare try to keep you alive, you stubborn bastard." For a moment, she thought he might actually strike her. His claws extended, his breathing went ragged, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with barely contained violence. Then Darius sank into the chair behind him, exhausted. "You don't understand what you're asking. Then explain it." He was silent for a long moment, staring at his wrapped forearm. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter, defeated. "It's silver, a cursed blade fragment, lodged too deep to remove without killing me. Every day it spreads, poisons my blood, makes the shifts more painful." He looked up at her with those terrible amber eyes. "There is no cure, human. Only time until it reaches my heart." Mira felt something cold settle in her chest. "How long?" "Weeks, maybe days. Let me see it." "There's nothing you can do." "Let me see it," Mira repeated, moving closer. "Please." The word hung between them. She'd never said please to him before. Darius stared at her, searching for something pity, maybe, or fear. But Mira's face showed only fierce determination. Finally, slowly, he began unwrapping the leather binding on his forearm. The smell hit her first, rot and infection and something darker, something wrong. Then she saw the wound itself. Black veins spiderwebbed from a ragged gash in his forearm, spreading up toward his shoulder and down to his wrist. The flesh around it was gray, necrotic, and at the center she could see the glint of silver embedded deep in muscle. The skin burned and blistered where metal met flesh. "Gods," Mira whispered. "Still want to help?" Darius asked bitterly. She pulled up a chair and sat across from him. "I can't remove the silver, but I can slow the spread, keep the infection from getting worse, buy you time. Human remedies won't work against werewolf poison." "Human remedies," Mira said, pulling herbs from her apron. "Work on living tissue. And last I checked, you're still alive." She met his eyes. "This is going to hurt. Everything hurts." She mixed charcoal and golden seal into a thick paste, added crushed garlic and honey, then reached for his arm. Darius flinched back instinctively. I have to touch you, Mira said quietly. I could lose control. Hurt you. You won't. You don't know that. I do. She extended her hand, palm up, waiting. Trust me, just for a moment. Darius looked at her hand like it was a trap. Then, slowly, so slowly, he placed his wounded arm in her grasp. The moment her fingers touched his skin, his whole body went rigid. Mira felt the heat of his fever, the tremor in his muscles, the way his claws flexed and retracted. But she didn't let go. She held his arm steady with one hand and began cleaning the wound with the other. Darius made a sound between a growl and a gasp. I know, Mira murmured, working carefully around the silver. I know it hurts. Breathe. I don't need. Breathe, Darius. He went still. She'd used his name. Not Your Majesty, not Alpha King, just his name. And somehow, impossibly, he obeyed. His breathing slowed, deepened. The tension in his shoulders eased just slightly. Mira applied the poultice directly to the wound, packing it around the silver fragment. Darius's claws dug into the armrest of his chair, splintering the wood, but he didn't pull away, didn't hurt her. Just endured. When she finally wrapped clean linen around his arm, her hands were steady but her heart was racing. There, she said quietly. I'll change it twice a day. The poultice should draw out some of the poison, reduce the inflammation. Darius stared at his bandaged arm, then at her. Why? Why what? Why help me? I've been nothing but cruel to you. Mira met his gaze. Because someone should. Because you deserve to be more than your worst day. And because... She paused, then admitted. I've lost enough people. I'm not losing you if I can help it. Something shifted in his expression, the savage king cracking open just enough to show the exhausted man underneath. You're either very brave, Darius said softly, or very foolish. Both, Mira said. Definitely both. For the first time since she'd arrived, Darius almost smiled. It was brief, barely there, but real. And Mira realized with sudden, dangerous clarity. She was starting to care about the monster in the fortress. Mira woke to the sound of screaming. Not human screaming, something worse. Raw, guttural. The sound of a creature being torn apart from the inside. It echoed through the stone corridors, making every torch flicker. She was out of bed and running before conscious thought caught up. The other servants huddled in their rooms, doors barred. Garrett grabbed her arm as she passed. Don't, it's the shift. He's locked in the chamber. You can't. Mira yanked free and kept running. The iron door to Darius's chamber was vibrating with impact, the silver chains rattling. She could hear destruction inside, furniture shattering, stone cracking, and above it all, that terrible sound of agony. She threw the door open. The room was a battlefield. The window was shattered, letting in freezing wind and moonlight. Furs were shredded, the bed frame was splintered, and in the center of it all, Darius was shifting. But it was wrong. All wrong. His body was caught between forms, human torso stretching, bones cracking and reforming, silver fur erupting in patches across his skin. His face was elongating into a muzzle, fangs too large, eyes wild and unseeing. One arm was fully wolf, massive and clawed. The other was still human, fingers digging into his own chest as if trying to hold himself together. He was on his knees, shaking violently, and the bandage on his poisoned arm had torn open. Black blood dripped onto the stone. Darius! Mira shouted over the chaos. His head snapped toward her, but there was no recognition in those eyes, only pain and feral panic. He lunged. Mira dove sideways, rolled behind the overturned table. Darius crashed into the wall, claws gouging stone, then rounded on her again with a snarl that made her bones vibrate. Darius, it's me, it's Mira. Another lunge. She scrambled back, heart hammering. He was losing himself completely, trapped between man and beast, unable to complete the shift or stop it. Listen to me, Mira yelled, grabbing a piece of broken wood and hurling it at him. It bounced off his shoulder. You're stronger than this. You're not just the wolf, you're both. He snarled, circling her now, but something in his movements hesitated. That's it, Mira said, forcing her voice steady. You're still in there. The poison is making it worse, I know, but you can fight it. Focus on something. Focus on my voice. Darius lunged again, but slower this time. She didn't run. She stood her ground and thrust out her hand. Focus on me. His claws stopped inches from her throat. He was trembling, still half-shifted, breathing in ragged gasps. His eyes flickered between amber and something almost human. "That's right," Mira whispered. "Feel my heartbeat. Smell my human scent, the one you hate so much. Use it. Anchor yourself." She took a step closer. "Don't," he growled, the word mangled through a half-formed muzzle. Too late. She placed her palm flat against his chest, right over his racing heart. The touch did something. Darius gasped, his body convulsing once, twice, and then the shift reversed. Fur receded. Bones snapped back into human shape. His face reformed, jaw clenching against the pain. When it was over, he collapsed forward, and Mira caught him as best she could, easing him to the floor. He was heavy, burning with fever, his whole body shaking, but human. "I've got you," Mira murmured, kneeling beside him. "You're okay. You made it through." Darius lay on the cold stone, staring at nothing, his breath coming in harsh gasps. "I almost killed you, but you didn't. I couldn't stop it, couldn't control it." His voice cracked. "The shifts are getting worse. More frequent, more painful. The silver is spreading faster now. I know. I'm losing control, Mira." He turned his head to look at her, and for the first time she saw real fear in his eyes. "What happens when I can't pull back? When the wolf takes over completely and I tear apart everything I'm supposed to protect?" Mira sat down fully beside him, her hand still pressed over his heart. "Then we figure it out. Together. Why do you keep doing this? Keep staying?" "Because someone has to," she said simply. "And because I'm stubborn." "You said it yourself." Despite everything, Darius let out a sound that might have been a laugh. "Stubborn enough to get yourself killed. Maybe. But not tonight." They sat together in the destroyed room as dawn began to break through the shattered window. Darius didn't move away from her touch. Mira didn't move her hand, and for the first time since the silver poisoned him, Darius didn't feel quite so alone in his dying. Mira was cleaning the wardrobe when she found it. The portrait was tucked behind old battle armor, wrapped in oilcloth as if someone had tried to preserve it and hide it at the same time. She unfolded the cloth carefully, revealing painted canvas. It showed a younger Darius, maybe 5 years ago, standing beside a woman with auburn hair and kind eyes. She wore a crown of silver leaves. His arm was around her waist, and they were both smiling, actually smiling. Not the bitter, almost expressions Mira had seen. Real joy. "What are you doing?" Mira spun. Darius stood in the doorway, freshly returned from patrol, still wearing his riding cloak. His eyes locked on the portrait in her hands, and something terrible crossed his face. "I'm sorry," Mira said quickly. "I was just organizing the—" "Put it down." She set the portrait on the table, taking a step back. "I didn't mean to pry." Darius crossed the room in 3 strides, staring down at the painted faces. His jaw worked, his claws flexed. "Her name was Alara," he said finally, voice rough. "My Luna. My mate." Mira waited, knowing there was more. 3 years ago, we received intelligence about rogue wolves massing near the eastern border. A threat to the pack. He touched the edge of the portrait with one clawed finger, careful not to tear it. "I led a hunting party to drive them out. Alara insisted on coming. She was a fierce warrior. Wouldn't be left behind." His voice dropped. "I should have refused. Should have ordered her to stay." "What happened?" "It was a trap. Not rogues, mercenaries hired by a rival pack. They used wolfsbane and silver weapons, knew our weaknesses." Darius's hand curled into a fist. "We were ambushed in a ravine. I was separated from her, trying to protect the younger wolves. By the time I fought through to her position, she was surrounded." Mira could barely breathe. "I got to her," Darius continued, his voice hollow. "Killed the mercenaries. But one of them drove a silver blade into my arm as I fought, and the fragment broke off inside. And Alara," his voice cracked. "She'd been cut too many times, too much silver in her blood. She died in my arms, asking me to keep the pack safe." "Darius, I was too slow," he said, each word like broken glass. "Too focused on the others instead of protecting my mate. She trusted me to keep her safe, and I failed. The silver in my arm isn't just poison, it's penance. A reminder of what my weakness cost." Mira's throat tightened. "That's why you won't remove it. I deserve the pain." "No," Mira said firmly. "You deserve to live." Darius turned to face her, eyes blazing. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." Mira stepped closer, her own hands shaking. "You want to know why I'm really here? Why I took this job when everyone warned me away?" He went still. 6 months ago, rogue werewolves attacked my village during the territorial conflicts. Everyone said to hide, to stay quiet, to let the pack forces handle it. Her voice wavered. But I thought I knew better. I thought if I could get to the neighboring village for help, we could fight back. So I ran. Darius's expression shifted. By the time I returned with reinforcements, the rogues were gone. So were half the people I'd grown up with. My neighbors, my friends, the baker who always saved me bread, the woman who taught me about herbs. Tears burned her eyes. I survived because I ran. They died because I wasn't there. That wasn't your fault, wasn't it? Mira wiped her eyes roughly. I keep thinking if I'd stayed, if I'd fought beside them instead of running for help, maybe more would have lived. Maybe I could have done something. Or you'd be dead too. Exactly what I keep telling myself about Alara, Mira said. Maybe if you'd stayed with her, you'd both be dead. Maybe your other packmates would have died without you protecting them. Maybe you made the only choice you could in an impossible situation. Darius stared at her, something breaking behind his eyes. We're the same, Mira continued quietly. Both of us carrying guilt for surviving. Both of us punishing ourselves for not being able to save everyone. But Darius dying slowly won't bring them back. It just means the people who need us now lose us too. What people need me? He asked bitterly. A broken king who can't even control his own wolf. Your pack needs you. The territory needs you. And, she hesitated, then pushed forward. I need you, because if you give up and let this poison win, then I failed again. Another person I couldn't save. Darius moved closer, his voice rough. You barely know me. I know you're fighting every day against pain that would kill most wolves. I know you're trying to protect everyone even when you think you're a monster. I know you pretend to hate my human remedies, but you use them anyway. She held his gaze. I know you're worth saving, even if you don't believe it. For a long moment, they stood in silence. Then Darius reached out slowly, carefully, and took her hand. His clawed fingers were gentle. If we do this, if we fight the poison, there's no guarantee it will work. I know. I might still lose control. Still hurt you. I know that too. Then why? Mira squeezed his hand. Because Alara asked you to protect the pack, and I can't protect anyone if the only person trying to unite humans and werewolves dies because he's too stubborn to let someone help. Something like a smile ghosted across Darius's face. Stubborn. You keep using that word, because it keeps being accurate. He looked down at their joined hands, then back at the portrait of Alara. She would have liked you, your defiance, your courage. I wish I could have met her. So do I. Darius took a breath. Tomorrow, we start fighting this properly. Your remedies, your schedule, whatever you think might help. You'll actually listen to me? Don't push your luck, human. But his tone was softer now. Almost warm. Mira smiled through her tears. Yes, Your Majesty. They stood together in the quiet room. Two broken people holding onto each other against the weight of their crowns. One of iron, one of guilt, and for the first time, neither felt quite so alone. Darius found her in the herb garden at dusk, sitting on the stone bench with a crumpled letter in her hands and tears streaming down her face. She didn't hear him approach. Didn't see him standing in the archway, frozen by the sight of the woman who never broke, breaking. Mira, she looked up sharply, wiping her face with her sleeve. I'm fine. I just needed air. He crossed the garden and sat beside her without asking permission. You're crying. Very observant, Your Majesty. What happened? Mira stared at the letter, her hands shaking. Message from my brother. The human settlements near the border where my family is, they're getting worse. More rogue attacks. The pack forces aren't protecting human territories anymore because of the political tensions. Her voice cracked. He said they're planning to evacuate, to leave everything and run deeper into human lands where it's safer. That's sensible. They can't afford it, Mira said. Relocation, starting over, it costs money they don't have. Money I was supposed to send them with my wages from here. She laughed bitterly. I came here to save them, and instead I'm just watching them fall apart from a distance. Darius was quiet for a moment. How much do they need? It doesn't matter. I haven't earned enough yet, and by the time I do, she couldn't finish. I'll send it. Mira's head snapped up. What? I'll send your family the funds they need. Tonight. They can evacuate immediately. You can't just... I'm the Alpha King, Darius said simply. I can do whatever I want. He paused. Consider it payment for saving my life. Multiple times. Mira stared at him, fresh tears spilling over. Why would you do that? Because you've been taking care of me for weeks. Let me take care of something for you. She broke. Just completely broke, sobbing into her hands, and Darius did something he hadn't done in 3 years. He reached out and pulled her against his chest. She stiffened briefly, then melted into him, crying into his shirt while he held her with surprising gentleness. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." They sat like that until her tears slowed, until the garden grew dark and the first stars appeared. When Mira finally pulled back, wiping her face, Darius didn't let her go completely. His hand stayed on her shoulder. "I need to confess something," he said quietly. "What?" "I've been thinking about what you said. About not dying alone." He looked at the mountains in the distance, his voice rough. "I've been alone for 3 years, surrounded by pack, by warriors, by advisors, but alone. Since Alara died, I haven't let anyone close, haven't let anyone see me as anything but the alpha." Mira waited. "But it's not the same as lonely," Darius continued. "I didn't realize I was lonely until you showed up and refused to leave, until you touched my wound without flinching, until you stood in front of my wolf and told me to breathe." He turned to face her. "I'm tired of being alone, Mira. And I'm terrified of dying that way." "You won't. The next shift could be the one where I don't come back," he said. "The poison is getting worse. We both know it." Mira's throat tightened. "Then we fight harder." "What if fighting isn't enough?" "Then we fight anyway." Darius looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time since she'd arrived, he met her eyes directly. Not glancing, not looking past her, but staring straight into her eyes with his amber gaze. Mira gasped. "You're not supposed to." "I know," Darius said. "It's forbidden. Looking a human directly in the eyes, it's considered a claiming behavior, a sign of considering someone an equal." His voice dropped. "But that's what you are. My equal. Maybe the only person who's ever treated me like both man and wolf matter." Her heart hammered. "Darius, stay with me tonight," he said. "Not as my maid, not as my healer. Just stay. Until the next shift. I don't want to face it alone anymore. That's..." Mira struggled for words. "That's crossing a line." "I know. The pack will notice." "I don't care. You should care. I'm human. You're an alpha king. There are laws." "Damn the laws," Darius said, his hand moving from her shoulder to her face, his clawed thumb brushing away a remaining tear. "I'm asking you, Mira, not ordering, not demanding, asking. Will you stay?" She should say no, should maintain the boundary, protect them both from the complications, should remember her place. But she looked into his eyes, those amber eyes that had terrified her weeks ago, and now just looked tired and desperate and painfully hopeful, and she couldn't. "Yes," Mira whispered. "I'll stay." Relief flooded his expression. "Thank you. But you're sleeping in the bed," she added quickly. "I'll take the chair." "Absolutely not. You'll take the bed. You're injured and poisoned, and still twice your size and capable of lifting you bodily into that bed if necessary." "Despite everything," Mira laughed. "You're insufferable. You're stubborn. We've established this." They walked back to the fortress together as darkness fell completely, Darius's hand steadying her when she stumbled on the uneven path. When they reached his chamber, Mira built up the fire while Darius shed his armor and crown. She settled into the large chair by the hearth. He lay down on the bed, still dressed, watching her. "Mira?" "Yes." "I'm glad you didn't run," he said quietly. "That first night. I'm glad you stayed." She looked at him across the firelit room, the savage king, who was just a lonely man afraid of dying alone, and smiled. "So am I." Neither of them slept much that night, but neither of them was alone, and somehow, that made all the difference. Beta Kale arrived at dawn with 5 pack elders, their wolves forming a dark line against the morning sky. Mira was in the kitchens when Garrett found her, pale and panicked. "They're here. The elders. And Kale brought them." "Why?" "No idea. But nothing good comes from 5 elders traveling together." He grabbed her arm. "Stay out of sight. If they see you..." "Too late," said a cold voice from the doorway. Beta Kale stood there, tall and broad-shouldered with dark hair and calculating eyes. He looked Mira up and down with open disdain. "The human maid. So the rumors are true." Mira straightened her spine. "Can I help you?" "You can disappear," Kale said. "The elders are meeting with the Alpha King. Your presence isn't required." "Then why are you talking to me?" His eyes narrowed. "Careful, human. You're here by the king's mercy alone. Don't mistake temporary tolerance for protection." He left before Mira could respond, his boots echoing down the corridor. The meeting took place in the throne room. Mira wasn't invited, but she positioned herself near the door where she could hear everything. Your Majesty, came an elder's gravelly voice. We've come with concerns about the state of your fortress and your choices. Speak plainly, Darius said, his tone already edged with warning. The human, Cale said bluntly. The maid you've allowed unprecedented access. She tends your wounds, enters your chambers, walks freely through pack territory. It's inappropriate. She's my healer. She's human, another elder snapped. Humans serve, they don't heal. And certainly not an alpha king. Her remedies are working better than any wolf healer managed. That's beside the point, Cale interjected smoothly. Your Majesty, with respect, you've been alone too long, isolated. The pack understands you're still grieving Luna Ilara, but 3 years have passed. It's time to take a proper mate, a werewolf mate, who can strengthen the bloodline and produce heirs. Silence. We've identified several suitable candidates from the high houses, an elder continued. Pure-blooded, strong, politically advantageous matches. We can arrange meetings. No, Your Majesty. I said no. Cale's voice took on a harder edge. Then what exactly are your intentions with the human? Because the way you look at her, the liberties you allow her, it suggests something far more dangerous than a working relationship. My relationship with Mira is none of your concern. It's every pack member's concern, an elder barked. You're the Alpha King. Your choices affect us all. If you take a human as anything more than a servant, you violate every sacred law we have about pure bloodlines, and— Enough, Darius growled. And even through the door, Mira felt the weight of his alpha command. You've made your position clear. Now hear mine. I will choose my own path forward. Mira stays. At what cost? Cale demanded. Your authority is already weakening. You're still poisoned, still struggling with shifts. The pack needs strength, not a dying king distracted by human attachment. Careful, Cale. Someone has to say it. You're compromised, and if you can't put the pack first, then perhaps— The door slammed open. Mira stormed into the throne room, fury overriding caution. Mira, Darius started. No. She cut him off, rounding on the assembled elders and Cale. You want to talk about what's compromising the Alpha King? Let's talk about it. He's been dying for 3 years because of a wound he got protecting this pack. Where were all of you while he suffered alone? Where were your concerns then? Human, you will not— an elder began. I'm not finished, Mira snapped. For 3 years, he's been locked in this fortress, poisoning himself with guilt while you all demanded strength without offering support. The only reason he's still alive is because I refused to let him die. So don't you dare stand here and question his choices when you abandoned him first. Cale laughed harshly. This is what you've allowed, Your Majesty? A human speaking out of turn to pack elders? Mira turned to Darius, her eyes blazing. And you, why are you letting them dictate your life? You're the Alpha King, not their puppet. Mira, Darius said carefully, this is complicated. It's not complicated. She gestured at the elders. They want you to choose a convenient mate who'll make their politics easier. They don't care if you're happy or healthy or even alive, as long as you produce heirs and maintain their power structure. You overstep, Cale growled, moving toward her. Darius was on his feet instantly, partially shifted, eyes blazing amber. Touch her and lose the hand, Beta. Cale stopped, but his smile was vicious. There it is, the proof we needed. You're compromised, my king, defending a human over your own Beta, choosing her comfort over pack tradition. I'm choosing what's right. You're choosing weakness, an elder said coldly. And the pack cannot afford a weak king. Then challenge me, Darius snarled, full alpha dominance radiating from him. Any of you. Challenge my rule if you think I'm weak. See what happens. None of them moved. They wanted to pressure him, manipulate him, but none dared actually fight him. That's what I thought, Darius said. Now get out, all of you. The elders filed out stiffly. Cale paused at the door, looking at Mira with cold calculation. This isn't over, human. Laws exist for a reason, and when the Alpha King violates them, consequences follow. When they were gone, Darius sank back into his throne, suddenly exhausted. Mira walked over slowly. I'm sorry, she said. I shouldn't have interfered. You defended me. You're my— She stopped, unsure how to finish. My patient? My friend? Something more? You don't deserve to be manipulated. Darius looked up at her, something intense in his gaze. They're right about one thing. Whatever this is between us, it's dangerous. I know. If we keep going down this path, there will be consequences. For both of us. Mira met his eyes. Then we faced them together. He stood, took her hand carefully, and squeezed. Together. But they both knew the elders would return. And next time, they'd come with more than words. They came for her in the night. 4 pack guards dragged Mira from her quarters before dawn, ignoring her protests. Garrett tried to intervene and was thrown against the wall. They hauled her through dark corridors to the great hall, where the 5 elders sat in judgment with Beta Kale standing beside them. "What is this?" Mira demanded, yanking against the guard's grip. "Tribunal," Kale said coldly. "For violations of sacred pack law." The lead elder, a gray-haired wolf named Fenrir, spoke with grim authority. "Mira of the human territories, you are accused of corrupting the Alpha bloodline through inappropriate contact, bewitching the Alpha King with human manipulation, and threatening the purity of our sacred traditions. That's insane." "Silence!" Fenrir roared. "You have no voice here, human. The evidence is clear. You've been seen entering the Alpha King's private chambers, touching him, influencing his decisions against pack interest. Worst of all," his voice dropped to something venomous, "the Alpha King looks you in the eyes. A claiming behavior. You've made him consider you as mate material, which violates our most fundamental law." "He was dying," Mira shouted. "I saved his life." "You polluted him," another elder spat. "Made him weak with human attachment." Kael stepped forward, his expression almost sympathetic. "Almost. The sentence is clear. Exile or execution. Your choice." The doors exploded inward. Darius strode into the great hall in full fury, eyes blazing amber, partially shifted with claws extended. "What the hell is this?" "A necessary intervention, Your Majesty," Fenrir said, standing. "The human has overstepped beyond. Release her. Now." The guards hesitated, looking to the elders. Kale nodded. They let Mira go, and she stumbled forward. Darius caught her arm, positioning himself between her and the tribunal. "You dare hold a trial without my knowledge?" Darius's voice was deadly quiet. "You've proven unable to make rational decisions regarding her," Fenrir said. "So we made them for you. The human must leave. Tonight." "No. Your Majesty, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable." Darius roared, his alpha command shaking the stone walls. "She saved my life when all of you had given up on me. She's done more for this pack in weeks than—" "She's human," KL interrupted. "You cannot choose a human, Darius. It will tear the pack apart. Half the wolves already question your strength. If you claim her as anything more than a servant, there will be rebellion." "Then let them rebel," Darius snarled. "I will fight every single wolf who—" "Stop," Mira said quietly. Darius turned to her. "What?" "Just stop." Mira looked at the elders, at Kale's calculating expression, at the guards who dragged her here. She saw the future playing out civil war, wolves fighting wolves, Darius forced to slaughter his own pack to protect her. "They're right." "Mira, no. I'll go," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll take the exile." "Absolutely not. Look at them, Darius." She grabbed his arm. "Look at their faces. They'll tear this pack apart if you choose me. Everything you've built, everything you've protected, it'll be destroyed. I won't let that happen. I don't care. I do." Tears streamed down her face. "I care. I won't be the reason your pack falls. I won't be another person you couldn't save because you chose them over duty." That hit him like a physical blow. "Don't do this." "I have to." She turned to the elders. "I accept exile. Let me go peacefully." Fenrir nodded. "Wise choice. You have until dawn to reach the human border. After that, you'll be hunted as a trespasser." Mira ran. She ran through the fortress, grabbing only her travel bag, and fled through the gates as the first light touched the mountains. Her vision blurred with tears, but she kept moving. The border was miles away. If she could just reach it, cross into human territory, she'd be safe. She'd be alone, but safe. Behind her, she heard the sound that made her heart stop. A howl, not just any howl. The Alpha's howl, full of rage and grief and desperation. Mira ran faster, but she heard him coming, paws pounding earth, getting closer. She burst through the tree line and saw it. The border markers. The line between pack territory and human lands. So close, she wasn't going to make it. A massive silver wolf landed in front of her, blocking the path. Mira skidded to a stop, falling backward. The wolf was enormous, easily twice the size of any normal wolf, with blazing amber eyes and Darius's iron crown somehow still perched between his ears. "Darius, please," Mira sobbed. Let me go. Let me save you this one time." The wolf shifted, bones cracking, fur receding. Darius stood before her in human form, naked and trembling and absolutely furious. "No. You have to. No." He grabbed her shoulders. "I've spent 3 years punishing myself for not saving Alara. I will not spend the rest of my life punishing myself for letting you go. The pack can accept my choice or challenge me for leadership." He pulled her close. "I am done letting fear and tradition dictate my life. I am done dying slowly to satisfy others' expectations. I choose you, Mira. I choose us." "Darius." He kissed her. Hard, desperate, claiming. And when he pulled back, his eyes were blazing amber. "Do you accept me?" he growled. "As I am? Wolf and man? Poisoned and broken and absolutely terrified, but choosing you anyway?" "Yes," Mira whispered. "Yes, but—" Darius shifted partially, pulled her against him, and bit down on her shoulder. The claiming mark. Mira gasped at the pain, the pressure, and then the overwhelming rush of connection she could feel. His heartbeat, his wolf, his absolute certainty. When he released her, blood trickled down her shoulder. "You just—" Mira couldn't breathe. In front of everyone, she turned. The entire pack had followed. Dozens of wolves lined the ridge, watching. The elders, Kale, guards, witnesses to the unthinkable. Darius addressed them all, his voice carrying across the distance. "This human is my mate, my Luna, my choice. Any wolf who challenges this, challenges me directly." Silence. Absolute, shocked silence. Then slowly, one wolf bowed, then another, and another. Not all, some turned and left in protest. But enough. Enough stayed and submitted. Kael stood frozen, his coup crumbling. Fenrir looked like he'd aged a decade. Darius turned back to Mira, suddenly gentle. "I'm sorry. I should have asked first. But I couldn't, I can't." Mira kissed him, tasting blood and tears and freedom. "You infuriating, reckless, impossible wolf. Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." The savage king and his human mate stood at the border between worlds, choosing each other despite every law that said they shouldn't, and the world would just have to change. They walked back to the fortress together as the sun rose. Mira's shoulder bandaged but the claiming mark visible beneath the cloth. Darius kept her close, his hand on her back, his wolf just beneath the surface, protective and possessive. The wolves who'd submitted followed at a respectful distance. Those who'd left in protest were gone, but Darius knew they'd return eventually or be replaced. Pack politics would sort themselves out. Inside the great hall, the remaining elders waited with Kael. Fenrir looked older, deflated. The other elders stood rigid with barely contained anger or resignation. Kael's expression was unreadable. Darius addressed them all with cold authority. "Let me be perfectly clear. Mira is my Luna, my mate, my equal in all matters of pack governance. Anyone who cannot accept this can leave now with my blessing. But if you stay, you submit to both of us. Understood?" One elder stepped forward, shaking with rage. "You've destroyed centuries of tradition for a human." "I've saved myself," Darius interrupted. "And in doing so, saved this pack from a dying king who had nothing left to give. If you cannot see that, then you're blind to what leadership actually requires." The elder turned and left, taking 2 others with him. That left Fenrir and one younger elder named Astrid, who'd always been more pragmatic than traditional. Astrid bowed her head. "The pack needs strength more than it needs pure bloodlines. If the human makes you strong, Your Majesty, then we accept her." Fenrir hesitated, then slowly, painfully, bent his knee. "My king, my Luna, you have my loyalty, though I may not understand your choice." "Understanding can come later," Darius said. "Loyalty is enough for now." Then all eyes turned to Kael. The beta stood silent, jaw clenched, hands fisted at his sides. Mira could see the war playing out behind his eyes. Ambition versus loyalty, tradition versus survival. Finally, Kael dropped to one knee. "Your Majesty," he said, voice strained. "I was wrong." Darius's eyebrows rose. "Explain." "I thought you were weak, compromised by human attachment. I thought—" Kael's voice cracked. "I thought I was protecting the pack by challenging your choices, but watching you at that border, seeing you willing to fight the entire pack for her." He looked up. "That wasn't weakness. That was the strongest thing I've ever seen an alpha do." Silence filled the hall. "I apologize," Kael continued, looking at Mira now. "To both of you. Luna Mira, You've earned your place through courage and sacrifice. I was blind to it. I beg your forgiveness and offer my fealty to you both." Mira glanced at Darius, who gave her a slight nod, her choice. She stepped forward and offered her hand. "Get up, Beta Kale. We have work to do." He took her hand, rising, something like respect finally showing in his eyes. "Yes, Luna." The tension broke. The remaining pack members who'd followed them back began filtering in, one by one, offering their submission and acceptance. Not everyone the fortress felt emptier, but enough. 3 days later, they held the ceremony. It was nothing like a traditional werewolf mating ritual, and nothing like a human wedding. It was both and neither. They stood in the great hall at sunset. Mira in a simple dress woven with both human and wolf designs. Darius in ceremonial armor with his crown. Astrid officiated, speaking words in the old language about bonds that transcend bloodlines, about strength found in unexpected places, about the courage to build something new from broken pieces. Darius spoke his vows first. "I claim you as my mate, my Luna, my equal. I promise to protect you, trust you, and let you save me when I'm too stubborn to save myself." Mira smiled through tears. "I claim you as my mate, my alpha, my equal. I promise to challenge you, heal you, and stay even when every instinct says to run." They sealed it with a kiss as the assembled pack howled approval. That night, after the feast and the politics and the endless stream of wolves offering congratulations or thinly veiled concerns, Darius led Mira up the winding stairs to the highest parapet of the fortress. The mountain wind was cold, but Darius wrapped his cloak around both of them. They stood together looking out over the territory packlands to the north, human settlements to the south, and the border between them no longer quite so absolute. "Are you scared?" Mira asked quietly. "Terrified," Darius admitted. "We just rewrote every rule. Half the pack left. We have enemies now in places we didn't before. But I can breathe," he said, pulling her closer. "For the first time in 3 years, I can actually breathe. The poison is still there, but it's not winning anymore, because I have something to fight for beyond duty." Mira leaned into him. "We're going to have to work hard, building bridges between humans and wolves, changing laws, proving this wasn't just reckless." "It was absolutely reckless," Darius said with a soft laugh, "but also right. Think we can actually do it? Unite the territories?" "I think," Darius said, turning her to face him, "that a stubborn human who refused to let a dying king give up can do anything she sets her mind to. And a savage king who finally learned to trust can help." Mira smiled. "The savage king, who's not savage at all. Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation." She kissed him as the stars emerged overhead, the claiming mark on her shoulder a permanent reminder of the choice they'd made. Behind them, the fortress buzzed with new life, wolves and humans beginning to work together, cautiously, but genuinely. It wouldn't be easy. There would be challenges, resistance, probably more councils and politics than either of them wanted, but they'd face it together. The human maid who broke every rule. The alpha king who finally learned that strength isn't about standing alone, and a love that changed the laws of 2 worlds. Their reign was just beginning. Thank you so much for listening. Where are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. And if you enjoyed my story, please subscribe. It's free, and it helps more people hear these stories.